Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim DeVille, contributing editor to Ukulele Magazine here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And my cohort way up north, it's
Del Rey from the upper left.
I never thought about where am I? I'm in the south right. I don't know where I am. Well, I'm
Down
right in front
the
of these
middle, baby.
right in front of these mountains here. Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to see many familiar faces, and let us both congratulate you for sticking with us for another session of finger picking. We're going to have a dandy time. Dell, would you like to make any cursory introductory remarks?
Well, you guys all know the drill. Put your questions in the chat, or if you have an urgent question that we've missed, or you need to address something, just wave and we'll get to you. But the questions in the chat will always get to us. And remember to keep yourselves muted so that it doesn't make that weird electronic crazy making noise. Um, Other than that, I think we all know what to do because we've been in these before.
Well, let me mention one thing also is it is now a 4:32 Mountain Time. So we like to start right at the bottom of the hour. So if you do want to come maybe a few minutes early, 10 minutes early or something, it gives us a chance to chat a little bit, but also gives us a chance that we could start on time. And so we'd appreciate that because people are still flowing in. We've still got about probably four or five people that still need to make it into the room.
Yes, you have to get here early so you can gossip with me.
I've got some gossip, Dell.
What the hell is it?
I'm still alive.
That is really nice, Jim. Yeah, Jim had some major ass surgery, and we're really glad that you didn't have any trouble. You're looking much better too.
Oh, yes. Color in my face, and I can walk more than 100 yards now.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for all your well wishes during my surgery and everything. And it's really great to be here because we didn't know if the October classes were going to go. So anyway, let's get started. If let's see, I'm going to bring up my outline. Okay, so Dell, why don't we, since we've got the etiquette and everything out of the way, why don't we talk a little bit about the overview of the class structure and where we're going to go in this session?
Yeah, well, I think the main goal of this class, just like the main goal of our last class, was the dead thumb, keeping time on just the quarter notes on just the fourth string. And you guys should be pretty good, but ding, 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 it should be in your head by now, and your thumb should be pretty automatic. So now we're going to start alternating our thumb. And this is officially, on a guitar, it's known as boom chang. And on the ukulele, it's known as ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. So the ding dong thumb. And we're also going to be using the keys of F and the key of G. So we're not just going to be in C anymore. And we're also going to try to start to use a ragtime progression. So, in the things we've done before have been basically 1 4 5. They've been all 1 4 5, right? That's all we did. Now we're going to get into a little bit of a ragtime progression, which will utilize the scale, the degrees of the scale to call chord progressions. So, 1 4 5, 1 1 6 2 5 1. So, that's ahead of us. And uh, we're going to try and syncopate. Like we did a tiny bit of syncopation with some of the things we did, but we're going to try and syncopate.
I think let's take this opportunity since we're just getting started and a lot of us know each other from going through level one. Uh, just any kind of questions about going forward, any concerns you may have, or did anybody struggle with something particularly more difficult than something else? Are you getting comfortable in that? It just gives us a baseline of where we are moving forward. Sarah, go ahead.
So, this is going to sound weird, but I struggled with when I use a metronome going slowly enough to do things perfectly. It was really hard to stay that slow in time.
Yes. The metronome is it's a trial and a tedium, but did you find that basically practicing slow is the same as practicing fast, except you're not practicing your mistakes. So I know that's annoying to go as slow sometimes as you have to go, but it's better to do that way.
And I would also recommend, does everyone have a metronome? Did everybody download a metronome or buy a metronome? It's just imperative. We're getting to the point now where you just have to have it. It changes everything about your practice too. I have a metronome and I used it occasionally, but you hang around with Del Rey for any amount of time and you're not in time, she doesn't suffer out of time fools gladly. It's just as simple as that.
You can be as out of tune as you want, as far as I'm concerned, but out of time really gives me a pain.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was real nice in level one, but we're at a different
Nice
level
now.
here.
Really nice. Let me just say, I know I've probably said this before, but I have so much respect for adult learners because all of us are like, we're big, we're really good at stuff. We've done a lot of things very successfully in our lives. We're used to like grasping information and assimilating it to our own ends. And learning something that's different is really an accomplishment when you're an adult learner because you're so used to being good at things and it's hard to be bad. So I think that working through these things is really good. And I know what this is like because, like I said, I studied Chinese. Impossible.
Uh, Nancy is asking Dell. Let's review this because we're going to be getting into this a lot more in level two, the aspect of damping.
Hmm.
And our question is, when damping the fourth string with your hand, do you have any advice to damp fourth string without damping the third string at the same time?
Well, damping is kind of a continuum. So, sometimes you want a damp that's just a little bit. Now, when I get down to that third, there's a little damp on there, right? Okay, so it's okay to damp both of them. And as we start to use an alternating thumb where that's actually going to be a time note, damping the third string is going to be a feature, not a bug. So don't worry about it. And also use your ears. Like if you want something to be sort of magnificent and lonely, that's one thing. There's no damping. So if you want something to be danceable, like the damping is suddenly making it have more lift, right? It makes it more bouncy. So use your ears to try to get, and even if you think you just start to, I want that to sound more continuous. I want that to sound more upbeat. So upbeat is from the damping.
Dell, I know that one of the highlights of teaching in this tandem format is going off script a little bit. And I just loved what you were doing right there about, let's just talk a little bit about rhythm and just shifting how you can shift the rhythm ever so slightly to get a completely different feel. I was just doing a lesson yesterday in Pennsylvania at a virtual festival, and I was teaching a chord, the old doo-wop progression, right? The 1-6-4-5-1 progression. And think of all the doo-wop songs that do that, Teenager in Love and all those. But the Beatles used that, and they wrote a song called it's not my guitar. Happiness is a warm gun, and they used the doo-wop progression. How did they do it? They just shifted the feeling of the rhythm,
Yeah.
and they get a completely different song. So I just expand a little bit more on just like the dance rhythm versus the really kind of straight stuff that we were learning toward the end of level one.
Well, think of like a rock anthem where it's something. And then think of that same chord progression as like a ragtimey thing. Or think of it as a blues. All of those are basically going at the same tempo, but how you approach the time makes it sound really different.
Dell, I just had a great idea. Well, I'm being the judge of that. But maybe if we could include in the weekly practice video just another little snippet video of just what you did right there of taking 3 different styles of music using that exercise that we learned in level 1, I would love to practice that. I think it's really expansive.
I'm making a note.
Everybody think that's a good idea? Look at that. We got a 100% approval rating on that suggestion. Guess it was a good idea.
Keep sucking up to Jim. I don't mind. Okay, so that's basically. So are we still in the overview of what we're doing?
We were just finishing the overview of what we were doing, and now we're moving into what we were doing.
Okay, now we're moving into what we're doing. Okay, very good. Okay, so we're moving into the ding dong. So as usual, we're still assigned like this. Only now, so let's just remind our thumb what it felt like to play just the dead thumb. This should come pretty naturally by this time. So what a dead thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, the heads are bobbing. Very good. Everybody's feeling the feeling of gravity. Yes, very good. It's all down from here. Very good. So now let's think about coming back up. Now we've got, so now our thumb is going to go 4, 3. And there's still a feeling of falling, but you come back up. This is the new place for our thumb. And it's going to be like this the whole time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Notice there's a little bit of a, do you feel an emphasis on that bigger string? It's not taking up more time, but how you're playing it. How would you play it? It's real straight. Okay, so that's our new place. Let's keep doing that and put on an F chord. Finally, we're getting to go somewhere else. Now our new one is going to be the F. So the basic thing with finger picking is that for this style of music, holding on to the chord while you're able to access both the thumb notes, which is the bass player, and some melody notes, which is the rest of the band, is important. Okay, so in this chord, what we can reach, we can't reach like in the C chord. Remember we had all those notes, and it's still, you've got this big C chord because it's so open, right? So now we're not going to be able to get that full range, but we've got do, re, mi, fa, ba, ba. So see, that's where I made the mistake on the video. Remember, when you're listening to the practice video, every single time I say B, and I mean B flat. So F, G, A, B flat, C, do, re, mi, fa, so. Okay, so let's play that with your first finger, your little finger, open, lay your first finger down to the first fret, little finger again. And some of you are going, hey, do, re, you're always telling me to play in position. How come you're not using your third finger? How come that's a third fret? How come you're not using the third finger? The reason, that was my dad, by the way. That's exactly how my dad sounded. So the reason is because many times in this kind of music, that third finger is going to be busy doing something else. It's either going to be playing the 7th or it's going to be playing the 6th. Okay, so that's why I'm getting you used to using this little finger to get those notes. So let's try that again. So we're starting on the F, going up a whole step to the G with our little finger. Open top is the A. Lay your first finger down without losing the chord for the B flat. And then C is our little finger. And let's go back down again. C, B flat, A, G, Jim, do you have something to say about this scale?
I love the F scale.
It's one of my favorites as well.
I had a whole workshop entitled The Fabulous Key of F that I did once, but other people didn't seem to share my enthusiasm for it.
Well,
But I'm gonna hope I can convince people because you can use the solfege like we did in the first level to play this also. So what is that index finger holding the F chord at the do, little pinky, re, open, mi, B flat, fa, pinky, sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. So there's a good little way to practice that is just go up and down with the solfege. One other thing, Del, can we even go below the root for fun?
yeah, sure.
Do, ti, la, sol. So I would probably use my ring finger for that law note just so I could keep the chord. And that's the great thing about the fabulous key of F is in the key of C, we can't go below the root. C is our lowest note. But in F, all we have to do is lift up that index finger and we've got do, ti, and then the ring on the D note, la, sol. And you can walk right up. Sol, la, ti, sorry, sol, la, ti, do. Right up the scale using your
Yeah,
solfege.
yeah. So you could start that whole exercise. So see how it sounds different than just playing the straight C scale starting from a C going to a C when we're starting in a different place here. Okay? Now, what you know about the C scale also applies to F. Okay, so how you're saying, how does that apply? So let's think about that C scale. Let's move it up a whole step and it's a D scale. Let's move it up another whole step and it's an F. I mean an E. And then let's move up a half step and it's an F, which is where we need it. So now think about your C scale, which should be pretty under your fingers right now. So there's your shape of a C shape chord. Right down here, you don't have to hold that down, right? But up here, there it is. So now you've got it under your fingers pretty easy. Exactly the same set of relationships and intervals playing it out of the position of C in the first position, but now we're playing an F. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so now you have two scales. So you've got this one that's in here, and you've got, okay, and there's that. I won't talk yet about the connection between the two of them, but there's really a lot of music available while you're able to maintain your finger picking between those two positions. But what we're going to worry about for this week, we're not going to worry. What we're going to embrace into our lives this week is, okay, so now let's try that with our old friend, the dead thumb. So dead thumb, we're just going to play on the fourth string. And we're going to play, we're just going to go up and back starting from the F note. One, and we're going to pinch every one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. F, G, A, B flat, C, B flat, A, G, F. One more time. Okay, so that's our basic thing. So now let's alternate that thumb. Let's just alternate the thumb for a while. 4, 3, 4, 3. So nothing has changed about the time of the thumb. It's in exactly the same place. So now we're going to pinch going up one note with one thumb. Let me do it one time and then you can try it with me. Now, if that's giving you some trouble, let's just do it. Take everything off. It's going to be pinch, 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 pinch. Okay, so just try that. So pinch, 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 pinch. I think that's right. I'll give you the idea though. So don't hold anything just so you don't get confused. Let's start with the alternating. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second, third. Second finger, ring finger. Second string, top string. How's that feel? That pinching is okay, right? So it's everything about it rhythmically is the same. So now let's play just the melody. So we're starting with our second finger on the second string. We're going to play this partial C, F scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to play it with a pinch on the fourth string, just the fourth string. 3, 4. Now let's bounce our thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pinch. Let's try it again. So that is what your thumb practice for this week is going to be. It's just going to end. I know that this is a little weird because you're not used to using that little finger on that note, and you're not used to flattening like that. That flattening is very important to maintain that chord because you're going to need it for the various things we do. So just, you can practice that just. That sounds nice, doesn't it?
Let's just take a deep breath right here, shall we?
Always a good idea.
And
But
you will remember from level 1 who was the guinea pig. I was the guinea pig. Maybe I didn't have a T-shirt that said it, but remember, I'm the guy that always was thumb, index, middle, and I'd only use those 3 thumb and 2 fingers for my whole adult banjo playing life and ukulele life. And it wasn't until this summer when we started these lessons that this finger had to step up to the plate, and I've done it. I can do these exercises from all the exercises and songs from level 1. But when we were rehearsing for this level 2, Del, do you want to tell them how I broke down in tears?
well,
Just
this is why Jim and I are a good thing because I think of things and I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty clear. Let's do that. And then Jim will be like, wait a second, that's way too fast. So So, and then I break. That's good for me because then I break it down even more. So this is broken down pretty good, and I think the thing to remember, and this is true anytime you're learning anything by ear or trying to learn something with muscle memory, there's two things going on. There's this 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's this 1, 2. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So practice them separately is not bad. So
And remember, uh, let not your troubled heart be worried, because every practice video, unlisted practice video that we send out every Monday afternoon is on YouTube as unlisted. And if you hit the settings button, you can slow it down. And at 0.75 speed, it doesn't sound, it sounds like she's mildly intoxicated when she's talking,
which that could happen at any time anyway.
but the playing is still on pitch. And you can even go to half speed and it's still on pitch. So you can slow it down. Because if I'm serious, when I was working on just this pinching and alternating thumb, I was having to say, "Oh, no, we need to stop here," and I needed to figure out the muscle memory to get this going correctly, and that's why just don't get frustrated with it. Work on the muscle memory that works for you, and practice just one thing at a time. Do it 10 times in a row till you can do it good without mistakes, and then add the next element in. That's my suggestion,
And
being the guinea pig.
I've tried to make these videos so that you can stop it. Like I'll give you something, you can just rewind me right there and then move on to the next little bit. They should be pretty doable that way. And I just put up thumb practice number 1 in the window, and I have also put up a playlist. So the playlist, as last time, the playlist, you don't have to learn anything, you just have to listen. So you're just getting tunes in your head so that they're in there, so that when we say, oh, we're going to play this tune, it's kind of, you have a little bit of auditory memory in there.
I was just checking something here as far as seeing if Sheila. Okay, Sheila did make it in. She had sent an email saying she didn't make it in, but there she is. I can see her. I can see her hand right there. Glad you made it in, Sheila. Okay, let's just take a pause here. We're at the top of the hour, and anybody have any questions? And remember, every question is valid. We're your friends now. Even though we haven't been invited over to dinner. I haven't seen it. Have you seen any dinner invitation? Anyway, just if you have any questions about this, Duff is in
There's one from Tempe, Arizona. Come on
Tempe.
down.
Go ahead, Duff.
Del, you talk about using your pinky in this on the in the A string. Why are we using our pinky? Why are we not using the ring finger normally? Can you?
So the ring finger, where we're not using is because really a lot of times we're going to be playing this out of a C7 chord.
Uh-huh.
F7.
I'm sorry, F7. Jesus, I'm playing guitar. That's $5 off my pay. So that happens a lot in this style of music. So
Okay.
we need. I'm just setting you up to get your pinky finger working.
Okay. Good.
Also, another thing that happens a lot of times is this connector between here. That happens a lot between here.
Okay.
So it's just getting this little finger to function as a melody finger
Mhm.
is really a good idea.
Okay.
And as you start to move up, as you start to use, let's walk through that. Let's walk through that C shape scale again with a little bit more detail, because I think that's a really useful skill. So let's get in your regular C, plain old regular C. I know we're going back to C, but don't worry, it'll just be for a minute. And now finger that with your little finger on that third string. And put your first finger at, it's not holding down anything, but we're just getting it out of the way. It's pretending it's holding down something, right? We're just going to get the fingering for how this scale works every other place but the first position. Okay, so we're going to play the C scale that we've been playing now for a good solid month. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, your fingering changes, right? Because these two notes are out of position. So now let's take that all the way up: C, D, E, F. So now let's try that same scale again. Do, re with your third finger, mi on the second string, fa with your second stringer, little finger again, top string, third finger, little finger. So that's how that fingering changes. It's exactly the same. Let's take it back down again. Little finger, third, first at the bar, change strings, 3, 2, bar, 3, 1. So if you don't have to hold the pressure of the whole bar, but having that bar in position, so you're a lot of this kind of music, it's what you can do out of that position. Okay, so if you are listening to an old guitar player, a lot of this stuff is on guitar rather than ukulele. The old guitar players use this position all the time. In the key, in first position, it's a G. That's our C, and up here, for them, it's a C. So that's why I'm getting you to hold on to that bar. If you play it like this, all you can do is play single notes. If you play it like this, then you can get all that melody. So all that stuff that we learned in the first class, like that last little bit is hard to get. Okay, so all that stuff is there. It's the same stuff. So anything you know in the key of C, you also know in the key of D. And you know it in the key of E flat. See what I'm saying? You know everything. And it's going to work that way with all the chords. So now we're going to learn things in the key of F. And the stuff that we know about F, we're also going to know about G.
And since we are going to be using that movable nut shape, that's what I call it, because you're treating your index finger as a capo or the nut and moving it up and then getting all the other notes in front of it. The one thing you may want to consider, and I know the people that come to my pop-up uke class have seen this chart before, and what it is, it's just a little finger exercise that you could do every time you sit down with your instrument. It's this one called tapping. You just put your 4 fingers down, let's say starting at the 2nd fret or 3rd fret on the 1st string. And it's worse with a metronome too, is you could put a metronome on 60 beats a minute and just go 3, 4, and then tap 2, 3, 4 with the index finger, and then move and tap 4 beats on the 2nd finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. The ring finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the little finger, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you move it up to the 2nd string with the index finger and tap 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Middle, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ring, 1, 2, 3, 4. And pinky, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you go up to the 4th string and then back to the 1st string, and it just teaches independent of movement with all these fingers. And before you know it, I bet if you did this every day for 2 weeks, the next time you put down that bar and started moving these fingers around, you'd go, I'm strong.
Yeah.
I'm strong.
Yeah, and you can also just get in any chord in the 1st position and lift. Like get in a G7 chord and lift the 2nd finger. And then lift the 1st finger. Lift the 3rd finger. All of that will help you just be able to pick a melody that needs you to hold on to a chord while you're picking something else. But that is a really great... Are you going to send him that? You should send him that little set of exercises. That's really good.
You know, it's funny. I saw a guy in Scotland, Rob McKillop, doing this 2nd spider exercise, but then moving it down the neck too, and his fingers are about this long, and they're about the size of pencils, you know. But when he was doing this exercise, it actually looked like a spider. It was so fabulous that's really what inspired me to put these exercises down. But the one in the lower left, the IM16, it just shows you if you're listening when you're doing exercises, if you're using a reentrant instrument and you just play up. I realized when I played that it's the melody from I Am 16 going on 17 from The Sound of Music. I am 16 going on 17.
Nice.
Just a little fun gold mine out of doing a simple scale exercise or simple chromatic scale exercise or finger exercise. So always be listening because you'll hear stuff. In fact, Del, when you were playing out of that F position, the do re mi out of the F position, you know what I heard? Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders, Groovy Kind of Love.
Whoa, heavy. Do you think that those songwriters who wrote, is it Rogers, Oscar, and Hammerstein that wrote Sound of Music?
Right.
That so much of their songs are like, the do, a deer, a female deer is so based on the diatonic scale. And then that one, I am 16, going on, so is so about the chromatic scale. Do you think they did that on purpose, like they're goofing?
You know, that is a great question. And I'll give you a little fun assignment. Rent The Sound of Music or watch it on Netflix or wherever and watch it straight through. It's a long movie, but just watch it straight through like you'd watch any movie. And, eventually they'll get away from the Nazis, but it's very tense and, and you'll be emotionally wrapped up in The Sound of Music. Oh my God, Maria! Oh no! Oh. But then, as the movie ends, go back and start watching it again. What it'll do, it'll take the emotional attachment out because they get away from the Nazis and they get across the mountain to freedom. So you don't have to worry about that. But then you start listening to what they're doing and you start looking at the musical imagery. And I've thought a lot about this because I've got that movie and I watch it periodically. Much like the opening scene where Maria is running up the mountain, because the major scale is basically an ascending scale. When it descends, it has more of a minor quality. And you start seeing, like when she's teaching the children to sing, they're running clockwise around a circular fountain in Salzburg, representing the circle of fifths. And so there's a lot of these images that are in that film where you do think, now, was that a happy accident just because there was a fountain there, or were they representing the circle of fifths? So this musical magic is everywhere to be found. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk for a minute about minor and diminished scales, weren't we, Del?
We were, but Larissa, which do you mean the one with the F fingering? Okay, so let me just reiterate that before we add something else. So
Okay.
the F fingering is going to be first finger on the F, little finger on the G, open, lay your first finger down to get the B flat, and then your little finger is going to get the C. And then if you want to keep going down, you can go 1 open, 2 with your third finger, open with your D.
And did you see that from Louise about her middle finger keeps coming off the A note on the fourth string when she rocks the pointer down to hold the B flat?
The middle finger, this one here.
Yeah, keeps coming off when she bars that first two strings.
Well, let's just do that a couple times. So you're flattening that finger. How are you doing that? What is the motion there? This is a motion that you may have never done before, right? Well, you have done it when you've made a B flat, right?
When I do the B flat, I always bar. I think that's what my problem is.
You always bar.
I bar the whole fret on the B
You
flat.
mean you always play B flat seventh?
No, I just bar like that. I just bar it like that. I always bar it. Instead of doing that.
Right.
Can I do the open A, or are you doing this A on the fourth string for a reason? Like to hit something later on. I did find if I like pull my elbow back a little, I can get it to go a little bit more.
So there should be a place where you can take your finger from being an arched finger to being
Yeah.
a flat finger. So just do that without holding anything else.
Yeah.
There's an arch and there's a flat. And notice that I notice when you're making your bar, there's really a lot of your finger going over there. That's too much finger.
Yeah.
You're doing too much work. And also, this is the thing about bars in general that sometimes it takes a while to get. The bar is not like the fleshy part of your finger going straight across. The bar is really the side of your finger. And even when I'm doing this bar, this tiny little bar, I'm just getting that top bit of my finger. So it's a micro movement. So it's from there's up and there's down. So you can just try that a few times. So you're going from where you're just on the pinpoint of your first finger to where you're on the side. It's not that. So you're not trying to maintain any kind of straightness here. You're getting almost, there's my finger. You can see how it's not straight. That's a good question, Louise. Bars are interesting.
Sometimes people call that oil canning too, where you're up and then you're flattening just with the knuckle. You ever heard it called that?
So like those oil cans that you used to squeeze?
Yeah, they would call it oil canning. Yeah.
Crazy. No, I never heard that.
Wow, I taught you something. That's wonderful.
Well, I didn't hang around with as many hillbillies as you because I got away from them as soon as I got out of the trailer park.
Yeah, I'm glad I got out of there.
And Susanna says triangling the hand at a 45-degree angle. Yeah, so you're like that rather than like that. And that's true of a big bar as well. And also a lot of times, even on your big bars, you don't have to like the amount of pressure that you have to put on there is not as great as you think if you got the right angle. So on these kind of bars where I'm doing this, it's not straight like that. It's more there's a pivot. So go from straight. Here, try this for me. Just go from straight and then lean your hand back, lean your first finger back towards the nut. So that it's this area of your hand, right in here on the top, rather than the big fatty part of your hand. Thank you. That was a good rabbit hole, Louise. Any other questions?
Victoria has a question.
All right.
Okay, when you're doing the alternating thumb and you're pinching, when you pinch the third string, are you pinching it with the note just like you pinched the fourth string with the note?
Yes. For right now, we are doing all pinches. So, and I did give you one where you're not pinching. But so the deal is, so this in the last class it was all 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's all going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So your second beat is pretty much always going to be on the third string.
Right. And when you do pinch the second string, are you pinching it with the note like the F, the G, the A, the B flat,
So
I know it's alternating, but
right. So there's three different there, and the exercises you're going to hit three different ways. You're going to hit one where it's pinching with every note. Okay. There you're going to hit one where it's every other note. And you're going to hit one where it's off note. Okay.
And then one other quick question. I know in level 1, you only really mentioned where for people who have a low G, like what is if there's any difference, to keep in mind, because I do have a low G.
For me, I voice a lot of chords using the high G as part of the voicing. So for me, that means something like I really, so instead of going major, minor, I go major, minor. And that sounds pretty crappy on a low G. That it's not as good. Whereas this works much better on a low G. But I don't think it's going to come up.
Okay.
If something sounds weirdo to you, just bring it up and I can give you an alternate voicing. Anybody with a low G. If something is like, wait a minute, that sounds crappy on my uke, I can usually find a workaround for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Judith has a question, but I'm not sure if I understand it. Is my middle finger barring as well? Maybe Judith can unmute herself and tell us what she means by that.
Hi, yeah, I'm seeing Del, you have your middle finger or what it looks like over the chord here, the fret here. And I'm just wondering, I don't know whether you could see that. So I was just curious to know if that's really pressing there or it's just there.
I'm just holding on to an F chord.
Oh, okay.
So you mean this finger? This?
No, your middle finger.
Okay, so no, that's actually performing a function that's very important. It's actually holding on to an F chord.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, got it.
Okay, Del.
I was very confused. I got it. Thank you.
Okay,
All
Del.
our work this week is in an F chord, and the song we're going to start learning for next week is Kentucky Blues by the fabulous Little Hat Jones. So listen to that on the playlist so you've got the melody in your head.
Okay, Del, we've got about 15 minutes left. We wanted to talk about the 2757 tension and resolution leading into our basic ragtime progression.
That sounds really sexy. What does it mean?
What does it mean?
2757.
Hold on just a second. I should have been more prepared. It means that the resolution is coming.
Nice.
You can quote me on that. And these magnets are available, refrigerator magnets, for $3 US or $27.50 Canadian, if you're interested. I'll get them back for the money they took from me.
That's right. They're going to pay.
We're in the key of F, might as well stay here. And there's our root, there's the 1, right? Home. Well, if you go up and play your C chord, that's the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 1. I call the 5 chord the chord of triumph because it just makes you want you put your chest out and you just go triumph home. But if you want the chord, the 5 chord, to really resolve back home, well, you take this 3-note chord, C, E, G, C, and you take out one of the C's and you add in a flat 7, and in the key of C, C chord, that would be B flat. So we're adding in B flat. We've got C, E, G, and now B flat. And these two notes, B flat and E, or wait, no, that's
High tone.
yeah. These notes don't get along. So you get this tension that has to be resolved. 5, 7 to 1. And if you look at a circle of fifths, F would be at noon, and then on the right at 1 o'clock would be C. You make it a C7. It resolves back home. As a matter of fact, you've been hearing this your entire life. How many people have been to concerts? Not in the last 6 months. Nobody. But if you've been to a concert, these are the last two notes or chords you're gonna hear because they want you to go home. Good night. Get lost. It's over. And you just get up and you just leave because you've been conditioned your entire life to hear the tension and resolution of 5, 7 to 1. Well, you could.
Too.
What's that?
Amen.
No, that's a 4 to 1.
Amen.
Yeah, they don't want to kick you out of church. They want you just to go politely.
I see.
So anyway, if we took that concept a fifth higher, if we went a fifth above C, C, D, E, F, G, right? And that would be the 2 of the F scale, right? F, G. So if we make the G a G7, you've got 2 fighting notes in that chord, and it wants to resolve back to C. But if it meets a C7, you've got more tension, which forces it back to F. And it's one of the most popular chord progressions in Western music. It's called the 2-7, 5-7, 1. Repeat that, please, friends, so you never forget it. G7 is the 2-7, 2-7, C7, 5-7, 1. In fact, if you've ever listened to those Hawaiian tunes where they call this the Hawaiian turnaround, 2-7-5-7-1 is the Hawaiian turnaround, but also used in ragtime and all these other things. And Del, why don't you take it from there?
It's the first thing that happens after the blues. It's so the blues is the most basic kind of blues is just a 1 with maybe an intimation that you're going to turn around on the 5. Then it gets the 1-4 and the 5. And then that's it until you get to the 2. I don't think of the 2 chord in quite such a sophisticated manner as Jim does. I think of the 2 chord in the old stupid way, which is that if you know where the 1 chord is, okay, here's the 1 chord. We're in the key of F. Let's make it an F7, and that F7 is the 1. The 2 is a whole step away. So whatever chord you're playing, if your 2 is a C, if your 1 is a C, then the 2 is going to be up a whole step. If it's a G, it's going to be up a whole step. And it's going to be a 7th. So that's how I think of it. I just think of it as physically, here's the 1, 2 steps up at that same position, and a 7th chord is the 2. That's how I think of it. Which helps me a lot.
And usually, this is an interesting point and an important point. Usually there are 3 ways to think about the same thing in music and music theory. And so there's no wrong way of these 3 correct ways, maybe, but you pick the one that works for you, that makes your mind work. There's another way to think of the 2 for you purist and music theorist purist is that the 2-7 is actually called oftentimes the 5 of the 5 because it's a 5th above the 5th.
I always wondered what that was when they said a 5 of 5. I never got that. Cool.
Oh yeah, and it really is evident on the circle of fifths. If you look at a circle of fifths, you go up a 5th and you go up another 5th. That's the 5 of the 5. So see, there's 3 ways right there that we can think about the 2. You choose the one that works for you.
Yeah, and so all this time when we're going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we're going to be using those to call chords, and the first chord we're going to call is the 2. So 1, 2, it's a whole step apart. Anywhere you have a 1, make that same shape as a 7th chord up a whole step. Or
Right.
you can think of it as something more sophisticated. Explain your way again one more time, Jim.
Uh,
How you just explained that?
the 5 of the 5 or the other way?
The other way.
Well, the other way I did it was just, I knew that the 2 of F is G, and I made it a G7. I didn't think of moving the shape. I used the other G7, and then I knew that was going to resolve a 5th back to C, and if I made it a 7th chord, it's going to resolve back to F, the root. So that's just the way I thought about it the first time. But I like thinking about it about a whole step higher because I've never thought about that myself. Like if I was holding an F7 and you just move it up 2, hey, that works.
That saved me in a lot of jam sessions. Now Nancy wants us to clarify, we're not talking about the 7 chord, but about the 7th of the 2 chord. We're talking about all these chords in jazz music, they tend to be 7ths. The 2 can be minor as well, 2 minor, like if you're playing, and you can hear the difference. Okay, so say we're playing this key in the key of F, and so if you were playing in a jazz, like a real jazzy jazz situation, that 2 might be minor, which would say. There it is with minor, but the way we usually normally use, you say. But it does have to be a seventh chord. So it's,
Yeah.
it could be a minor chord, but for our purposes, seventh chord.
Yeah, and when we say seventh chord in this context, we mean a dominant seventh chord, a G7, C7. If we meant a regular seventh chord, we would call it a major seven, and then you'd be using the note from the like if we had a C chord and you just use the seventh note of that scale. See, there's a jazzy C major seven.
So here's the seventh chord. We don't want to go to the lounge.
No, we're not in the lounge.
Go there. We don't want to play there. We don't want to go there at all. We want to go to the seventh, not the.
Major seven. No, no. We don't want. This isn't a Fern Bar sort of music thing. You know, we got tension and resolution here.
Dominant seventh. Dominant.
Hey, Del, we're rapidly running out of time. Why don't we just
Really? Okay.
yeah, we'll address that diminished and minor because that'll take a few minutes to get that in our wheelhouse. Why don't we just could you play just a little bit of that ragtime, basic ragtime 6-7-2-7-5-7-1, just to give our ears a chance to hear what's in store for us?
Okay. So after we get there, so next week, now I'm going to go sequentially. Next week, we're going to have a song that has the two in it. So next week,
Okay.
the song goes. See why we're getting our little finger up, right? 2, 5, 1. So our little finger, this week you're getting it in shape. So next week, we can get even more out of it. 2, 5, 1. That's Little Hat Jones, Kentucky Blues. So listen on that.
Wow, now who doesn't want to do that? I do, I do. And maybe I won't have it by next week, but I'm going to have it this session. You bet I am.
Oh, you gotta warm up to it. So we're getting our little finger ready to do some work so that. We want to get that under your hand for this week.
Yeah, so start slow, take it easy, use your metronome. Remember, we're going to the gym here. You don't go to the gym on Monday morning and come out 10 pounds lighter and, in fighting shape. We got to get these fingers ready to go. And with each successive week, we'll add just a little bit more to help along. In closing, I see that Hisashi, you're new here. A lot of us have taken this level 1, but where are you coming to us today from?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Where's that?
Portland, Oregon.
Oh, you're in.
Oh, Portland. Well, I think we've got a couple people from Portland too. So, well, thanks for joining us. Is this seems like it's going to work for you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, welcome to the group. It's nice to have you.
Right, thank you.
And anybody else have any questions about anything before we drop off? We get a thumbs up there. Larissa, well, thank you very much. I think it's going to be another great session, and I think we're going to really progress. But you remember, at least a couple of minutes of working these fingers out every day. And I'll include the little finger tapping chart along with the practice videos and the playlist and today's lesson in your email tomorrow afternoon. So, or for those of you in New Zealand, it'll be a week from Friday that you'll get that.
Because it takes a while to get that over there.
Oh yeah, it's got to cross the international date line. So
Reminds me of when my mother first sent me a fax. This was years ago, and I was in Italy, and she put the fax in the fax machine, and went through, and then she's like, "It came back already."
those were the days.
Those were the days.
Okay, anybody else have any questions before we drop off for today? Anybody else? All right, well, I think it was a good time. It's great seeing you all again, and great being alive. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Next week. Bye.